Hey, what's up everyone? Alex here, back with another opening video, the 115th opening video that I like to share with you, which is the mouse variation opening. So it's essentially kind of like a subset of the parallel opening within the mouse variation. So you start off with F5, the parallel opening, and of course the typical sequence towards the mouse opening. And instead of, maybe playing C5, which we covered in the earlier video in the 114th, is that white will probably play C4 instead as a variation. So I think I've seen this online player by the name of Cheese Chan. He's a 7-dan player, but I think he's also a very strong real-life Japanese player. So obviously he's played this sequence before, and typically if you're black, you wanted to kind of just intersect a disc that was surrounded by the existing disc, you would just play this, F3 being the best move, and then you would just jump right into E2, kind of like occupying the center block, splitting the discs, and it will be natural for black to kind of just quickly cut back into the center to C3, and C3 being in the center 16, slightly more favored than the other moves perhaps. And then what white would do is just penetrate over here to D2, continuing that centralization. So essentially that's the kind of variation that you have for the mouse variation, and black will kind of regroup, flipping one disc, minimizing the group size, and then followed by white jumping in. So I think the typical follow-up here is for black to kind of play G4. This is probably something that people generally won't miss unless you're very edge prone. If not, you would probably cut to G4, create the E4 disc so that you can jump out to C2 afterwards. So the typical kind of follow-up here from Cheese Chan is, instead of playing G5, is to actually play C6, simply just to remove E4 that provides a nice access to C2. And then you will realize that, hey, maybe G3 may not be a super easy move for black to kind of play, because you're afraid that maybe white cuts back or goes to the edge. Probably wouldn't be that favorable for you. Tendency is maybe black may jump into D6 to kind of centralize, or maybe split the disc up at C1. That's possible as well. So this is essentially the kind of opening variation. So again, Cheese Chan does this in a 1-minute blitz game. I definitely recommend it only for the blitz game, definitely not the slow game, because the slow game, I think most players would be able to capture C1 and also G3 instead of going for maybe other moves like E6 or D6, or even like something as drastic as G5. Probably isn't something that black would probably consider firsthand. So yeah, essentially that's the mouse variation opening. It's a very short, relatively short sequence, and at the same time it's a very narrow opening. With parallel opening, I think usually the number of choices that you have is quite limited as well, so you have to kind of use it as a surprise opening, either for a blitz game or maybe just as a friendly game. So thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you at the next video. Goodbye.